L.A., Lawrence Frank, the head of basketball operations there, had this to say, quote, I think the thing is every deal has to work for both sides, and I think we got to a point where we just said, you know what, we can continue the conversations, but let's just table it until the end of the year. So I anticipate that we'll pick up conversations. Everything's been on a very, I'd say, cooperative and collaborative measure, and he can sign his extension up till July 1st, and then he can also test free agency, and we're hopeful that we can still bring him back. Meanwhile, there was a report that PG turned down multiple offers from the Clippers and that he wants nothing short of a max. Again, is this real, or is PG just kind of using using the Sixers as leverage as far as wanting to test out free agency to see what the Sixers can offer? We've seen this whole leverage game play out over the last year with the Harden situation last year,
and a few years ago with Paul George and LeBron, who also uses for leverage.
That's right.
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's leverage. I think he'll leave. I think he would if a team can somehow blow him away with a deal, or the only way that maybe a team gives him more years than the Clippers are willing to give him. What if his extension with the Clippers is only 2 years? Maybe it's the years and not necessarily the amount. Like we don't know. So I could see maybe the years being more into the issue than the actual amount, because I mean they their owner has the longest arms in the league, so that's not an issue.
Yeah,
we know that.
Yeah.
Money's not an issue. So they're going into the new arena, so he wants to have some form of a splash in a good team. So if I had to guess, I would say the years being the issue more than the money.
Yeah. A buddy of mine I texted with the big guy, he's a big Knicks
or the
fan.
guaranteed years or something like that.
He was saying we argue about Paul George. He said the same thing. He was like, there's no way a guy with that much money is going to let an asset get away for free. There's just no way that's possible. But then again, it's a new dawn, right? It's a dawn of a new day. And for the NBA with the second apron and cap restrictions, like these are the kind of messages that GMs out now.
If Paul leaves, I do not think Paul leaves as a free agent. I think he leaves in a sign and trade. Yes. Yeah, that's my belief. I don't believe the Clippers will let him walk. They'll come to a mutual agreement to get some assets from it. And that's where it gets tricky, because you can sign him for more, and are you willing to like, for in our situation, are we willing to sign him and give up something? Or are we willing to sign him just as a free agent and keep our picks?
I think it comes down to whether he wants to play ball or not, right? Because if he says, nah, I'll just leave and sign with somebody else, then they can't do anything about that. It's over, right? They're done. The best they can do is say, hey, Paul, let's get you the most amount of money possible. If we do a sign and trade, you get the full max, and then we can trade you. So that's one thing, but it all comes down to pretty much him in the end. It's interesting though, but you get to see this is the repercussions from the new cap restrictions. This is what it's turned into. I mean, teams are going to have to be a little more calculated in how they do things. They gave Kawhi a lot of money tied up. They still want to re-sign Harden apparently. So that's just, it's not an endless cap pit anymore. Like there are repercussions to going over, and you are restricted, and they gave away a lot of their picks to us. So they don't have a cupboard full of assets anymore. So that's going to be a problem for them. So they're going to have to figure it out. I feel like in the end, they're going to have to be forced to pay him. I feel like they're going to have to do it. They're playing hardball because they can at this point. You know,
I mean, my thing is the reason why Philly's name keeps coming up is because it's very few teams that'll have the ability to sign him.
Yeah.
that are good, that are contenders.
That he would go to over the Clippers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's not as much leverage as you think to say, I think they will sign him, but for him getting that deal, I think once you see what's out there, you become a free agent, you see what's out there, things could change quickly.
Yeah.
If it came down to a sign and trade, and then obviously with the Butler situation, we would have to trade something for that as well. Who'd you rather go for between a Butler or Jimmy if it came down to those two, or Jimmy or Paul George if it came down to those two and had to do a sign and trade?
George.
Sign and trade. Like I said, it really depends on the build of the other roster. It's kind of hard to say it right now. I mean, being that we've had Jimmy, I'll just say, okay, let's do something different and go with Paul. But I think Paul is a 1 or 2 year guy. Jimmy may very well be the same too. I don't know. But if we're getting if we get one of those two guys, then we got to be saying, let's try to win the championship within the next year or two. And that has to be the focus. So you got to build a roster around there, like you're trying to do that.
Yeah.